Howdy fellas, it's Jazz. It's the middle of August, which means that everyone is going back to hell. In other words, the school year is starting up again, and I thought I'd share some school stories I keep in the deeper labyrinth of my fractal hippocampus. One thing you should know about me is that I do not take from anyone, especially teachers. So naturally, I got in trouble quite a bit. This first story takes place back in 3rd grade. It was a very laid-back day in reading class, with drawing assignments and group work. However, my teacher decided that whatever she needed to tell me was more important than me developing a social life. Look what that got me. Anyway, she pulls me out to the hallway and says the same sappy speech I've heard a million times already. Honestly, I kinda just tuned her out. So we're standing there and she's giving me the whole, I just want what's best for you and I only want to help you succeed. And I'm like, lady, the only thing I've gained from your class other than the developing sense of fight or flight was the one and only Ivan. Great book, by the way, 100% recommended. But as she's talking to me, one of my classmates comes out to ask the teacher something. She states that she has a dark rectangle in the middle of her vision and thinks that she should go to the nurse. Now, not to brag, but I was a smart enough kid to understand her symptoms and make the proper diagnosis. However, because me and this teacher have been arguing for the past 10 minutes, both of us were pretty heated and irritated. So when she came out and said, "There's a dark rectangle in my vision," both me and the teacher looked at her and said, "Stop looking at the light!" at the same time. She froze, then just shimmied back into class, not saying a word. And honestly, I kind of felt bad afterwards because once I finally went back inside, I saw her crying from getting yelled at. Now, this next story needs some extra context. This happened back in 8th grade, so I think I was 13 or 14. Back then, and unfortunately still now, I only ate one meal a day. And that meal was almost never breakfast because it always made me sick. Why is this important to the story? Well, the rules at the school's breakfast were that if you were eating, you could still sit at the lunch table. However, if you had no food in front of you, then you were required to go to the auditorium until the bell rings for first period. With that being said, all of my friends are at the lunch table, and the auditorium is too crowded and loud with annoying plastic girls and horny boys. So I'm chilling at the lunch table talking with my friends until a teacher comes around the corner and sees that I don't have any food. Supposedly, no one who took this teacher's class liked her. And you'll see why, because she's one of those teachers who thinks that because she has authority over the students, she has control over them. She comes over and says, if you don't have any food, then you need to go to the auditorium. And I'm like, we only have 7 minutes left, can't I just stay here? And she's like, no, because if you did, then people who are actually eating wouldn't have anywhere to sit. And I look back at the other tables. The tables are those, like, strip tables that they line up against each other. And if you put everyone in that lunchroom at one strip, it wouldn't even fill up all the way. And there would still be like 5 empty tables left. I think she got pissed when she saw me look around because then she said very loudly, either go get food or go to the auditorium. Clearly trying to embarrass me. These are all tactics that teachers use to try and get their students to listen. But I'm like, it's probably just the rules, so I didn't argue. I stood up and went to the food line. And I guess something clicked in her because she just decided to change her mind. She stopped me right as I was about to enter and she said, "No, you're going to the auditorium." And I go, "Why? You just said that I need food to stay here, so I'm getting food." "No, you're not hungry." Huh? Now, I was already planning on getting food and not eating it, but for her to blatantly state that another person isn't hungry is insane. So I yelled, "Who are you to tell me if I'm hungry or not?" And I went into the line anyways. By the time that I got out, she was already gone. According to my friends, she stared at me, her face turned red, and then after a second, she stormed off to the principal's office. Within like a minute, I got called into the office. Funny enough, that's the perfect amount of time needed to travel that distance, so you know she beelined it. This was actually one of the few times the principal was on my side. She was like, "Yeah, that's kind of weird that she said that. You're not going to get in trouble, but I do want you to apologize." And I go, "Yeah, okay." He says, fully intending not to apologize. I'm not going to apologize to someone who thinks they can restrict food access to children. But I also wanted to test something. The principal said that she wanted me to apologize to the teacher, meaning that it was her idea. But if it was her idea, then the teacher doesn't know anything about this agreement. So if I go on with my day and tell the principal that I apologized, she'd be okay with it because I kept my part of the deal. And the teacher isn't going to bother me because she wasn't expecting anything from me anyways. However, if the idea came from the teacher, that means that despite the principal probably telling her that I can't get in trouble for this, her ego was so big that she couldn't accept me getting away with it. So she was expecting an apology from me, and when she didn't get it, she went back to the principal to tell me to apologize to her. This went on for 3 days, until she finally just couldn't take it anymore and told the principal to send me to in-school suspension. What the f did I do? This is the first time that I've met this woman, and she's treating me like I murdered someone. As I was getting escorted out by a police officer, my friends who were at the table when this started knew why I was getting escorted and all saluted me. And I'm like, you know what? This was worth it. Mama said to make connections at school, well, I became a legend. 4 days later, when I got back to school, I was sitting at the lunch table with my friends during breakfast, and she came back around the table. She opened her mouth to say something to me, but before she could, 3 people put their juice boxes in front of me, and I just held one up and smiled smugly. She pauses, and then she leaves. And for the first time in my life, I won. Now, I have a lot more of these school stories to tell. Like the time I got kicked out of high school because my principal doesn't like autistic kids, or like when one of my teachers hated me so much that she refused to believe I was doing good in her class and blamed me for hacking into her computer and changing my grade. Oh boy, when did this happen? College? Or maybe the end of high school? It was 4th grade. I was 10! But I will leave those for another video. With that being said, my name is Jazz, and until next time, signing off.